The spotlight burned like a desert sun, pinning Keaton Hawthorne to the stage in front of a sea of stunned faces. His fingers, trembling with a fury he had bottled for decades, gripped the engraved plaque, the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Texas Education Alliance, and with a single, deliberate rip, he tore it in half, the crack echoing louder than the gasp from the live audience. "This isn't honor," he said, voice cracking like dry earth under boot heels. "It's a chain I've worn too long." As the pieces fluttered to the polished wood floor, the nation, watching on every screen from Dallas diners to New York subways, held its breath, not knowing they were witnessing the birth of a man reborn from his own shattered silence. Keaton's heart hammered against his ribs as the camera zoomed in, unblinking, capturing the raw etch of tears carving paths down his cheeks. He had rehearsed this moment in his mind 1,000 times, in the quiet hours before dawn when Willow Ridge slept under a blanket of stars, but nothing prepared him for the weight of it all crashing down now. The auditorium in Austin hummed with whispers turning to murmurs, then a swell of confusion, but Keaton stood firm, his broad shoulders squared under the ill-fitting suit jacket that smelled faintly of mothballs and regret. He was 42, principal of Willow Ridge High for 15 years, a fixture in this dusty corner of West Texas like the windmills that dotted the horizon, reliable, unyielding, but hollow inside. Behind him, the panel of dignitaries shifted uncomfortably, their smiles frozen in place like bad taxidermy. Governor Harlan's wife clutched her pearls, and the local news anchor, a slick-haired kid from Lubbock, fumbled his mic cord. But Keaton's eyes weren't on them. They locked onto the front row, where Rowan Ellis sat, his lover of 7 years, the history teacher with the easy laugh and calloused hands from fixing fences on weekends. Rowan's face was a mask of shock, green eyes wide. But beneath it, Keaton saw the flicker, the unspoken plea, the fear that this act would unravel everything they had built in shadows. It started 6 months earlier, in the sweltering heat of late May, when Willow Ridge baked under a sky so blue it hurt to look at. Keaton remembered the exact moment because it was the day the world cracked open for Jamie Coulter, the 17-year-old sophomore with a mop of curly blonde hair and a sketchbook always tucked under his arm. Jamie had been doodling in the margins of his algebra notebook, delicate lines forming two boys holding hands under a Texas live oak, when Coach Harlan, the governor's brother and the school's football tyrant, snatched it away during study hall. "What the hell is this, Coulter?" the coach bellowed, holding the book aloft like evidence in a witch trial. The classroom fell silent, 30 pairs of eyes darting between the burly man in his whistle necklace and the kid shrinking into his desk. Keaton had been in his office, nursing a lukewarm coffee and staring at the stack of budget reports that never seemed to shrink, when the intercom crackled to life. "Principal Hawthorne, report to room 204. Immediately, Mrs. Delgado's voice carried the edge of someone who had seen too many storms. He was on his feet before the words fully landed, the chair scraping back with a screech that mirrored the twist in his gut. Willow Ridge High was a microcosm of the town itself. 3,000 souls clinging to oil rigs and high school football dreams, where Sundays meant church and secrets stayed buried deeper than the aquifers running dry beneath the plains. Keaton knew the undercurrents. He had navigated them his whole life. By the time he burst into the classroom, Coach Harlan had Jamie backed against the blackboard, the sketchbook open to a page that laid bare the boy's heart. Intertwined figures, one with Jamie's freckles, the other a faceless silhouette, their kiss frozen in pencil strokes, soft as a whisper. "This ain't right, Principal," Harlan growled, his face flushed redder than the Longhorns' cap on his head. "Boy's got no place pushing this filth on my team. He's off the squad. Hell, he shouldn't even be here." Jamie's eyes, wide and wet, met Keaton's for a split second, pleading not for rescue, but for understanding. The other students shifted, some snickering under their breath, others looking away, the air thick with the scent of chalk dust and unspoken judgment. Keaton stepped forward, his voice steady as the Rio Grande in flood season. "Coach, hand me the book." Harlan hesitated, his meaty fist clenching, but something in Keaton's gaze, the quiet authority honed from years of corralling rowdy pep rallies and grieving parents, made him comply. Keaton took the sketchbook gently, flipping it shut as if shielding a fragile bird. "Jamie's art is his own, Harlan, and this school is a place for all of them, not just the ones who fit your playbook." The coach's laugh was bitter, laced with the entitlement of a man who believed God and gridiron were one and the same. "You gonna let this slide? Governor's coming to the game next week." What'll he say when he hears we're harboring perverts? The word hung in the air like smoke from a brush fire. Keaton felt it sear into his skin, a reminder of the closet he had locked himself in at 18, after his father found the dog-eared copy of Giovanni's room hidden under his mattress in their Lubbock ranch house. "Son," his old man had said, voice gravelly from years of pipe smoke, "we don't talk about that here. We pray it away." And Keaton had prayed, fervently, desperately, until the prayers turned to silence, and silence to survival. Now, staring at Jamie's bowed head, he saw his younger self. The fear, the fire banked low but never extinguished. "Out," Keaton said to Harlan, pointing to the door. "My office." Now, the coach stormed off, muttering about lawsuits and school board meetings, leaving the room in a hush broken only by the tick of the wall clock. Keaton knelt beside Jamie's desk, the linoleum cool against his knees. "You okay, kid?" Jamie nodded, but his hands trembled as he shoved pencils into his bag. "They all saw it, sir. Everyone knows now." Keaton placed a hand on his shoulder, the touch light but firm, a bridge across the chasm of years. "Knowing isn't the end of the world, Jamie. It's the start of owning your story." That afternoon, in the dim light of his office with its walls papered in faded diplomas and team photos, Keaton sat across from Jamie and his mother, Clara, a wiry woman with calloused palms from waitressing at the diner on Route 10. She twisted a tissue in her lap, eyes darting to the door as if expecting the whole town to burst in with pitchforks. "I just want him safe, Mr. Hawthorne," she whispered. "Willow Ridge. It chews up folks like us." Keaton leaned forward, the leather chair creaking under his weight. "It does. But it doesn't have to. Not if we stand together." He promised protections, a counselor referral, a no-tolerance policy on bullying, and Clara left with a tentative nod, Jamie trailing behind like a shadow. But standing came at a cost. Word spread faster than wildfire in August dry grass. By evening, Keaton's phone buzzed with texts from the school board. "Careful how you tread, Eli." And from Harlan, "You're making enemies you can't afford." He ignored them, pouring a finger of bourbon into a coffee mug and stepping onto the back porch of his modest bungalow on Elm Street. The screen door slapped shut behind him, and there was Rowan, leaning against the railing with a beer in hand, his flannel rolled to the elbows, revealing forearms tanned from summer hikes in the Davis Mountains. "You did good today," Rowan said, his voice low and warm, the kind that wrapped around Keaton like a blanket on a chill night. They had met 7 years ago, at a teacher's retreat in Marfa, where the stars hung so low you could almost touch them. Rowan, fresh from UT Austin with a master's in history and a laugh that cut through awkward silences, had cornered Keaton by the bonfire. "You look like a man carrying the weight of the Alamo," he'd joked, and Keaton, who hadn't flirted in years, had let slip a smile that led to stolen kisses in the desert dark. Now, as the cicadas hummed their endless chorus, Rowan pulled him close, lips brushing his temple. "Harlan's just bluster. He'll blow over." Keaton wanted to believe it. Sinking into the embrace, Rowan's scent of pine soap and earth grounding him. But doubt gnawed at the edges, a whisper that this stand for Jamie might drag their hidden life into the light. They made love that night on the worn couch, urgent and tender, bodies mapping the familiar terrain of each other's scars. Keaton's from a youth spent hiding. Rowan's from a family that had disowned him at 20 for the sin of loving a man. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of them, Keaton traced the line of Rowan's jaw. "What if it doesn't blow over? What if they come for me, for us?" Rowan's eyes, flecked with gold in the lamplight, held steady. "Then we face it. Together." It was a vow, simple as that, and in the quiet, Keaton clung to it like a lifeline. The backlash hit like a nor'wester the next week. Petitions circulated at the feed store and the Baptist church, calling for Keaton's resignation. "Protect our kids from agenda," the headers screamed in block letters. Harlan wasted no time, cornering parents at Friday's game under the floodlights, his voice booming over the cheers for touchdowns. Jamie, benched indefinitely, sat in the stands with Clara, sketching furiously to drown out the slurs hissed from bleachers below. Keaton watched from the sidelines, clipboard in hand, his stomach churning as a group of dads, oil roughnecks with beer guts and Bibles, glared his way. Rowan found him in the parking lot after, the gravel crunching under their boots as they walked to Keaton's truck. "Board meeting Monday," Rowan said, sliding into the passenger seat. "They're gunning for you." Keaton gripped the wheel, knuckles white. "I know, but backing down now. That's not who I am. Not anymore." The drive home wound through cotton fields silvered by moonlight, and in the cab's cocoon, Rowan reached over, hand warm on Keaton's thigh. You're the bravest man I know, Eli. But bravery's got a price. Monday dawned gray and heavy, the kind of sky that promised rain but delivered only humidity. The school board chamber was a converted courtroom in the county annex, walls lined with portraits of stern-faced men in bow ties. Keaton sat at the long oak table, flanked by Mrs. Delgado and the vice principal, a nervous man named Chet who fidgeted with his tie. Across from them, Harlan loomed, flanked by two allies, a rancher with a cattle brand tattoo peeking from his collar and the pastor from First Light Baptist, his Bible thumping softly against the table like a gavel. The chairwoman, Evelyn Tate, a silver-haired widow who baked pies for every bake sale, cleared her throat. Principal Hawthorne, we've received concerns about recent events in room 204. Parents feel the environment is compromised. Harlan leaned in, his chair scraping. Compromised? It's poisoned. That boy's drawings, promoting unnatural acts. And Eli here's defending it. What's next? Pride flags in the hallways. Keaton's pulse thrummed in his ears. He had prepared notes, bullet points on inclusivity and state laws, but they felt flimsy now, paper shields against a storm. Jamie Coulter is a student here, same as any other. His expression doesn't harm anyone. Bullying does. And as principal, it's my job to protect all kids, not just the ones that make Harlan's playbook. The room tensed, Evelyn's pen pausing mid-note. The pastor quoted Leviticus, his voice rising like a sermon, and the rancher muttered about slippery slopes. Rowan waited outside, pacing the hallway with its scuffed linoleum and flickering fluorescence. When Keaton emerged, face drawn, Rowan pulled him into an alcove, their foreheads touching in the dim light. How bad? Bad enough, Keaton murmured. They're voting next month. But I'm not done fighting. Rowan's kiss was fierce, a spark in the gloom. But as they parted, Keaton caught a shadow in his lover's eyes. Hesitation, perhaps, or the first fracture in their armor. The fractures widened over the summer, as Willow Ridge simmered in the heat. Jamie transferred to an online program. His sketches now digital uploads to anonymous forums, but the town remembered. Graffiti bloomed on the school fence, sodomite principal in red spray paint. Keaton scrubbed it off at dawn, the bristles raw against his palms, while Rowan brought coffee and silence. Their nights grew strained, conversations skirting the edges of fear. What if we leave? Rowan suggested one evening, as they sat on the porch swing creaking in the breeze. Austin's got jobs. We could start over. Keaton's chest tightened. And Jamie? The kids like him? I run now. Who stands for them? Rowan sighed, head on Keaton's shoulder. You can't save everyone, Eli. Not at the cost of us. It was the first crack, unspoken but felt, a rift widening with each anonymous letter slipped under the door, threats veiled in scripture, promises of exposure. By September, the air carried the crisp bite of fall, and the awards ceremony loomed on the horizon. Keaton had been nominated months ago, before the storm, for excellence in rural education. Irony tasted bitter as he polished his shoes, the leather gleaming under the bathroom bulb. Rowan watched from the doorway, arms crossed. You going through with it? Have to, Keaton said, forcing a smile. Show them I'm still here. The drive to Austin was 3 hours of mesquite scrub and radio static. Rowan at the wheel while Keaton stared out at the endless flat. They talked little, the space between them filled with what-ifs. At the hotel, in a room with starched sheets and a view of the Capitol Dome, they made love slowly, rediscovering each other in the unfamiliar bed. I love you, Rowan whispered against his skin, and Keaton echoed it. But the words felt fragile, like glass in a hurricane. The ceremony was a blur of handshakes and small talk, the auditorium a cavern of chandeliers and velvet seats. Keaton's name was called, the applause polite but thin. He ascended the stage, the plaque heavy in his hands, the governor's voice droning about dedication and values. And then, as the lights blinded him, something snapped, the weight of Jamie's eyes, Rowan's quiet strength, his own buried truth rising like groundwater after drought. He tore the award. The nation watched. And in that moment, Keaton Hawthorne became more than a principal. He became a beacon. But beacons cast long shadows, and the fallout was swift. As the video went viral, hashtags like Tear the Chain and Willow Ridge Rising flooding feeds, Willow Ridge erupted. Reporters camped outside the school, their vans kicking up dust on the access road. Harlan called an emergency board session, his face purple on the local news. This man's lost his mind, ruining our town's good name. Keaton barricaded himself in his office, the blinds drawn against the flashbulbs. Rowan burst in mid-morning, door slamming. "Eli, they're saying you're gay. The whole damn world's saying it." His voice broke, not with accusation, but with the terror of exposure. Keaton pulled him close, the hug desperate. "It's out. All of it." For a heartbeat, relief washed over him. The closet door flung wide. But then the fear crashed in, tidal and cold. What about Rowan? What about the job, the house, the fragile life they had pieced together? That night, as coyotes yipped in the distance, Rowan packed a bag. "I need space, Eli. Just to think." The words landed like punches, each one stealing breath. Keaton stood in the doorway, watching taillights fade down Elm Street. Betrayal? No, survival. But it felt the same, a knife twist in the gut. Alone, Keaton sank to the floor, sobs racking his frame. The hero the nation cheered reduced to a man unraveling thread by thread. The days blurred into a haze of interviews and inquiries. CNN dispatched a crew, their producer, a sharp-eyed woman from Atlanta, grilling him in the school library, surrounded by dusty tomes on Texas history. "Why now, Mr. Hawthorne? What made you snap?" Keaton leaned back in the creaky chair, the scent of old paper grounding him. "A kid, Jamie. He reminded me that hiding kills slower than any bullet." Support poured in from unexpected quarters. Letters from across the state, gay teachers in Houston, parents in San Antonio, even a ranch hand from Amarillo who confessed his own secrets in shaky handwriting. Jamie emailed from his new setup in Lubbock, a digital sketch attached, Keaton on stage, award in shards, wings unfurling from his back. "You're my hero," the note read. Keaton printed it, taping it to his desk amid the chaos. But Rowan stayed away, his text sparse. "Need time." Keaton drove to his apartment once, the complex with its peeling paint and chain-link fences, but the lights were off, the truck gone. Whispers reached him through Mrs. Delgado, Rowan seen at a bar in Midland, laughing with old college buddies. Jealousy gnawed, but deeper was the ache of loss, the realization that their love, once a sanctuary, might not withstand the spotlight. The climax came on a Friday in October, wind whipping leaves across the football field as the town council convened an open forum. The gym overflowed, bleachers packed with faces Keaton knew, neighbors, former students, the barber who cut his hair every 6 weeks. Harlan took the mic first, his speech a litany of grievances. "Keaton Hawthorne's turned our school into a circus. Fired him now, before more damage." Cheers erupted, fists pumping. Keaton's turn came, heart pounding as he climbed the podium. "No notes this time, just truth. I stood for Jamie because no kid should fear their own heart. And yeah, I'm gay. Been hiding it since I was younger than him. Scared of folks like you judging me unfit. But love isn't a sin, hate is. And if loving Rowan Ellis, the man who's been my rock, makes me unfit, then fire me. But know this, I'll keep fighting for every Jamie out there." The gym fell silent, then fractured. Boos from the back, applause from the young teachers clustered near the door. Clara Coulter stood, voice quavering. "My boy's thriving because of you, Eli. Don't let them win." Jamie, via video link on the big screen, added, "You gave me courage. Thank you." As the vote loomed, Keaton caught sight of Rowan in the shadows, face unreadable. Their eyes met, a current passing, regret, longing, possibility. The board deliberated in whispers, Evelyn's gavel finally falling. "By majority, we retain Principal Hawthorne. With conditions, sensitivity training, community outreach." Relief flooded the room, hugs and handshakes, but Keaton's gaze stayed on Rowan, who slipped out amid the throng. Outside, under sodium lamps buzzing like fireflies, Rowan waited by the truck. "I was scared, Eli, of losing you to this." To them. Keaton closed the distance, hands framing Rowan's face. "You are this. You're why I tore that damn thing." Their kiss was salt and storm, tears mingling as wind tugged at their coats. Not perfect, not without scars, but real, a love forged in fire, rising from ashes. Winter settled over Willow Ridge like a benediction, snow dusting the live oaks in rare white veils. Keaton's office filled with rainbow flags donated by allies nationwide, and Jamie returned for graduation, his cap tassel swinging as he crossed the stage to cheers. The nation moved on, but in quiet moments, Keaton felt the echo, the hero not in the tear, but in the mending. One evening, as stars wheeled overhead, Keaton and Rowan walked the ridge trail, hands linked without fear. "What now?" Rowan asked, breath fogging the air. Keaton smiled, the weight lifted. "Now we live, truly, in the vast Texas sky, Freedom wasn't a shout, but a steady breath, compassion for the broken, identity claimed, love unapologetic. And in that, they found their home.